Hello, I'm David Parry, a counselling psychologist, and thank you for joining me. In this talk, I want to explore how to engage with and discharge the energy generated by the body when we are in flight or flight mode. The fight or flight response, how do we recognize it? Typically, when we experience a fight or flight response, our heart rate increases a lot. We tend to notice it, we tend to breathe less and more shallowly. Perhaps this has to do with our body becoming tense. We could describe it as becoming armored to protect us from an attack. Sometimes people think they're going to die due to the difficulty they experience with their breathing. We can experience our hands sweating and a strong sense of unease in our stomach. The fight or flight system becomes activated when we feel, sense, or are exposed to danger. This can be experienced in many ways, such as job insecurities, being bullied, falling out with friends, relationship problems, money problems, housing, all kinds of problems, speaking in public, and so on. There appear to be three responses when this is activated. We're ready to run, fight, or freeze. We tend to freeze and become immobile when feeling there is no escape from the situation. Animals often do this. It's often described as playing possum. In other words, the animal plays dead until the danger hopefully passes. And as soon as this happens, the animal makes its escape with as much energy as it can muster. Returning to our fight or flight response, it is a response that prepares us for action. Stress chemicals are pumped to our muscles. Energy is diverted to our heart and muscles too. And we feel a strong urge to get away from our current situation or prepare to fight. However, if we fight, we risk getting injured. Therefore, we often choose or feel impelled to run. Often, after we have made our escape or the danger passes, we continue to experience the sensation associated with fight or flight because we find ourselves reflecting on the situation we've just escaped from. I discussed this response in more detail in my video discussing our survival instincts. The question is what to do with our fight or flight response. In the literature, we are encouraged to try and relax when we have such experiences, based on the premise that it's hard to be anxious when you relax. I think that doing something energetic, such as shadow boxing or arm pumps, facilitates the body to release and discharge the energy that is building up in our muscles. After doing such exercise, we can then sit in a chair, for example, and practice some stretching and deep breathing exercises. Therefore, to get the tension out of my body, to loosen up my body armor, as it were, as soon as I have escaped from the situation that is making me feel threatened, or I'm away from it, and I feel I'm in a safe place, I use shadow boxing to discharge my pent-up energy and feelings. I prefer this to, for example, going for a run. I do relaxation exercises after I've done my shadow boxing. Initially, I find my heart rate increases when doing the shadow boxing. However, after I've done, say, 4 stretching and breathing exercise, I find my heart returns to normal for me. I prefer to do shadow boxing or say arm pumps to run away because I think running, the flight response, could reinforce the fear response and may lead to us using avoidance and distractions, as well as coping with feelings, thoughts, memories that we'd rather not have for whatever reason. I think symbolically associate running away, flight, as avoiding a situation. I also think it's important to acknowledge who is in the ring when we are doing shadow boxing. We can verbalize our complaints, swear and curse if we feel like it. Remember, the aim of this exercise is to discharge our pent-up feelings. Why is it important to discharge our feelings of fight or flight? Firstly, and very importantly, it can lessen the chance that these feelings will emerge or erupt in the next situation we experience as threatening. If we don't do this, I think there is more chance that these suppressed feelings will greatly amplify how we feel in the next situation we feel threatened by. They may, for example, lead to rage. Secondly, consider how you feel when you inhibit and suppress the discharge of energy. For example, have you ever tried to stop a sneeze or yawn from happening? It's not pleasant. I'll recall once holding in a sneeze and it hurt my chest. It was as if the energy of the sneeze went inwards instead of outwards. Therefore, following this line of reasoning, might suppression and inhibiting the expression of our feelings of anger, fear, and injustice do something similar. I think that holding in such powerful feelings can make us feel heavy, depressed, lacking energy, and listless. We can be heavy by suppressing the flow of energy through our bodies. In a sense, it also takes energy to suppress energy, which is a very tiring and burdensome on the body's resources. After I have tried to discharge the energy of fight or flight, and as soon as I can, I start writing about the experience. How do I decide if this is necessary? I find a good indication that this is necessary if I find I keep going over the situation in which I felt threatened and it preoccupies me. When writing about an experience, I try and use all my senses. Therefore, you can describe it in words, pictures, smells, colours, anything that helps you to express yourself. If you're using words, try to write in the first person. For example, this happened to me, I felt this, etc. You may find writing a letter to the person who scared you or treated you unfairly useful. The aim of this letter is to get things off your chest, not to send it. If you're finding writing about the experience too distressing, I want to stop. You may think it's best to start writing about such when you're in therapy. If you decide to write about such, please don't expect to do it once and it will stop preoccupying you. It may do, but more likely one memory thought, maybe accompanied by feelings, will trigger off other memories that you may have not realized were connected. In closing, I want to say, just as physical pain alerts us to do something alerts us to something in our body that needs addressing, so psychological pain communicates to us that we need to address something psychologically, and I would suggest philosophically. Thank you for joining me today. Bye for now.